They're locked up, trying to politic the best they can behind bars, while other generations, just like um, broken homes, it's no different. The new thugs and criminals are without their fathers. These real gangsters, they already been locked up, and they're without that real guidance to stop all these senseless killings because they not about that, and they not about that. So now what we have had, because the father gangsters have not been really in the picture to influence the streets, and that includes certain father rappers. You know, the Tupacs, the Biggies, all of them are out, you know, of our lives, and we don't really have any guidance, not no substantial guidance. So I say all that to say this. Now we have a spawn new extreme knucklehead kind of people because of a lack of a father on the streets. Because they'll shut all that down. Gang stalking, all that foolishness. It's not good for anybody. It's not gangsters that love it. Not real ones. Because it's not good for anybody to be. What gangsters want someone walking around trolling people, playing games? Nah, you don't want that even to be a possibility for you as a gangster. Hey, they might try to do that to me. I got to shut that down. And that's when you realize that person's a gangster. He could have let you live. He could have let y'all live, but no, that's bad for me. Sorry. Yeah, nobody's a fan of that. 24/7 surveillance, playing surveillance games all around. Nah, gangsters, and that's all that really mattered to me. The people with the businesses, because they the ones that can get you off the streets too. Boom. They can get you up out of here. Oh yeah, they'll find you. They can get you off the streets too. Quicker than you believe. So what I propose is that 20 years is given to knucklehead extremists. They're a different breed. They're not thugs and gangsters. They're knucklehead extremists. Perfect example is shootings that go into the house and kill kids, and people pushing people in front of trains. Those are not gangsters. Those are not people with businesses. They're strong arm people that's pushing people in front of trains. Okay? It's not thugs, because thugs are too busy trying to survive, trying to get some money. That ain't thug either. So you have to create a different definition. You have to define them outside of something that they're not. You shouldn't just be giving those stamps. You shouldn't be giving those labels to people. And they're not actually defined by what you're saying. And this is how we clean up a lot of foolishness, and we see these knuckleheads for who they really are. And we give them 20 years because they ain't what they want to be anyway. Who wants someone like that on the street? You killing kids, you pushing people in front of trains. What gangster sits up and says, "Oh yeah, that's good"? No, you don't want that. You don't want that. A lot of gangsters feed their whole neighborhood. I know the history. I know some history. They feed their neighborhoods while a lot of other people are not feeding you. They're not focused on going and shooting up houses and wind up killing babies in the neighborhood. The same neighborhood that they feed. Imagine that. Imagine that. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's not the same type of individuals, and we got to stop labeling them as such. Okay? It's obviously a new time in the world, right? So a new type of violent individual has spawned about. Ain't no other way to put it. You should know that the times will eventually bring about some type of new evil, some type of new characters. And that's what they are, extremist knuckleheads. And they're not gangsters and they're not thugs. Let's get that out the way. And they're not gang members. Let's get that out the way. Not really. You have to separate them. It's not the Crips that's doing this. When the last time you heard Crips shoot up house and baby kill? Blood shoot up house and baby kill. You don't see that really, do you? Then what does that tell you then? They're not gang members, but they are gang banging. So please understand, I brought this term that I use, the way I use it, to full maturity. It's not a gang member. It's a person that shoots senselessly, usually in the forms of 187s. That is gang bangers. And it's not a good term. That term is not a good term. It's not a term of that is used in the streets at all. It's not. It's a person that shoots senselessly and particularly wind up wounding kids. Just like the other day here in New York, some dude was shooting. I guess I don't know who. I didn't get to see who the person was they were shooting, but in the process of that, 2 kids are right there, like laying over the person or something. Right here in New York. This happened like 5 days ago, maybe a week ago. And the kids are laying, I think 11 and 13 were like all around the person he was shooting. Now see, a real assassin would have already knew that's a problem. That's not going to look good if I get caught. I get caught and there's kids in the way. What people are going to consider is that you did not consider the children. And next time you might kill one of them. Hey, it's an educated assumption. It's a very educated assumption. And that will be taken into consideration. That's what you little guys got to understand. Out here doing all this stuff in front of everywhere and all everywhere. It's going to be taken into consideration where you do your crimes at. And that's how they're going to look at you. You're a low-level criminal. Because professional gangsters and criminals don't make environmental mistakes. You're not going to see a gangster shooting in school zones, in other words. It's not going to happen. And then mess up all their business and they go to jail for all they built. Nah. The person that they trying to kill is not even that important to make them lose everything they got. And that's where you separate the gangsters from whatever else they talking about out here. So when you see anything senseless or careless in environment, you already know you ain't dealing with no gangsters and thugs, because ain't no gangster and thug trying to sit down. I don't care if you call it tough or ratchet. At the end of the day, you be ratchet in jail, which is failure. That's failure, by the way. That's failure. So realize where you at, because you can't fool me. Ain't no gangsters gonna go and do nothing in no deli where there's surveillance. You got 1 million cameras, and and people say, oh, they don't care. That don't make you gangster. It make you a non-caring, reckless, extremist knucklehead. Because if you had businesses and everything going on, you would consider the cost. Oh, I can't do that. Nah. I'll wait later. I ain't going to do nothing. And I'll wait later and do everything. That's a gangster. Now, somebody that's doing stuff on surveillance. How many times have you seen these low-level criminals do something on surveillance? Right there. When did that start happening? When did that start happening? Because what I remember, hearing and all of this and knowing is that I'm gonna make sure ain't no cameras around. So how you all in the cameras? Like Suge Knight say, all in the videos. You all in the videos. And if they think that's cool to be non-caring of that, ask somebody that's been in jail for 15 years how cool it is, whether ratchet or not, whether I don't care and we'll do it anytime. Ask them how cool it is when that 10th Christmas came around. When that 10th Christmas came around, that 10th birthday came around, and you locked up. Ask them how cool it is for what they done. And me and you not the same. Because if I do anything, it's going to be off camera. I promise you that. It ain't going to be in no deli. It ain't going to be in no grocery stores. It ain't going to be anywhere. Now, if I have to protect myself, it's going to look good. Because I'm going to I can protect myself under surveillance. But I'm not going to initiate. And it's a big difference. See, some of y'all kind of stupid. It's a big difference between initiating something under surveillance and defending yourself under surveillance. That looks pretty good, actually. It looks very good that they got surveillance of you protecting yourself. That part. Now, if people are suicidal, or you just depressed, want to die, and you just do anything anywhere, okay, that's a whole different subject. But we talking about sound-minded people that claim to be gangsters and thugs. That's what we talk about. And with that mentality, the first thing you're going to think is, I'm doing something off camera. Unless you're defending yourself now. If you got to do whatever you got to do, you got at any given time. And you can sense that that's what it is. Then that's a different situation. Because, hey, I'll pull something under surveillance. I sure will. If I have to protect myself. If I feel the need that someone is taking it to that level, beyond a fight. Oh, yeah, if you keep fighting and fighting, I'm not even going to do that. If by any means, if the fight or whatever it is, where there's physical fighting going on, if it has went to an extreme, then I'm pulling a weapon. I'm not going to sit there and get beat over and over again by anyone. No. And that's the difference. Okay? So let's just, because people think they got points out here that they don't have. They don't have points with real gangsters. They don't have points with real thugs because you do it. First of all, your first mistake is you're doing stuff all on surveillance. You're getting caught, in other words. You don't get no respect for that. No, not in my book, not in most people's books. So that's what and you see, people tell on themselves where you at. I can tell where you at. Now, if I ask you to come out of the surveillance, meaning out the store, we're coming off government property. We're coming off government property. We're coming off community property to where it's reasonable, to where someone can fight without surveillance or whatever. That is a person that is aware of being caught as a criminal. How are you a criminal, but you're not aware of being caught as a criminal? Explain that to me. Because a thug is basically a criminal. That's basically what it is. Thugs ain't doing nothing else but crimes. So how are you a thug, but you're not aware of being caught as a criminal? That's not, we don't care. That doesn't validate it. It still doesn't validate it. You don't care. You're still not. So that means I'm still proving the point that you're not really a thug either. You can say you don't care. You do care. But if you do crimes and you're not aware of being caught as a criminal, then you're not really a criminal. You're not a thug. You're somebody that's out here doing extremist stuff, like the guy that pushed the guy in front of the train. That's the type of individual they are. That's the type of individual they are. You're because you're not aware of being caught. You're not aware of people. First thing you do, first thing a criminal does when he do a crime is look around. That's what a real criminal does. That's the first thing you're gonna do. You're gonna look around. Okay? You're gonna see if somebody gonna see this. That's the first thing you're gonna do. That's the first thing you're gonna do. You're gonna look around. And if you don't see nobody, then you're gonna do the crime. If you do, you got what you about to defend. It comes down to, all right, if you see people, do you need to defend yourself? If you don't need to defend yourself and you're on the offense, then you gotta let that go for another day. Now that's the mentality of criminals, which is thugs. That covers the thug part. So you can't be a thug not aware of being caught as a criminal, unless you just a reckless person. And then what we call that is you a knucklehead. You're not a criminal. You're not because you would be aware of being caught as a criminal. So how are you a criminal but you're not aware of being caught? That's one-on-one. That's one-on-one in crime life. I don't want to get caught doing this crime. Hello. That's the first one. That's the one-on-one. That's the 101. And how you got these guys that they think because they think it's cool, and guess where they're going? Straight to jail. You're going straight to jail, and then guess what? After 5 or 6 years, it's gonna start burning. Oh, it may not burn. You might be holding your head up, glad with pride, thinking you killed somebody. But after you hit about that 6th or 7th year, it's gonna start burning, and you're gonna be like all them other prisoners. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like all of them, writing home, trying to come home, and when you get out, you ain't making no mistakes. You're gonna go get a job and lay low, and try to hustle and become a gangster. Most of them. Your plan is, well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna become a gangster. I'm gonna get this amount of money. I'm gonna try to do this. You gonna stay on the same level? I would imagine that most prisoners that do significant time, if they have not totally rehabilitated, that they at least come to the point of having the perspective of a gangster. Multiple businesses. We gotta clarify this stuff, guys, because everybody's saying they're everything. And it's not true. Not to me. You can't fool me. You can't fool me, man. I put you in the extremist knucklehead position. That's what you are. You are extremist knucklehead. If you gang stalking, you too. Ain't no gangsters got time to be doing that. What gangsters that got multiple businesses gonna take time putting somebody under surveillance? What thug that does crimes is gonna put themselves all out in the open, messing around somebody? You can hear them talking and everything. And I can probably see what criminal gonna put themselves in a situation of getting caught like that. You're not criminal minded. Criminals don't get caught. At least they don't try to. So you also, the gang stalkers, you can hang up saying you a gangster or a thug too. Because in all actuality, you are an extremist knucklehead. That's your title. You are like a zombie. That's what you are. You're not among gangsters and thugs. And if we clarify this, we'll see the need, because some people need to be locked up. We'll see the need to lock them up. Any gangsters want pedophiles on the streets? Any gangsters want gang stalkers on the streets, putting people under surveillance. It's no gangsters that want that. And they ain't got no proof of nothing they talking about. They ain't got no crime, but they out here gang stalking people. And if it ain't that kind of situation, they still gang stalking and putting people under surveillance. That's the worst thing a gangster would want, is to be put under surveillance, right or wrong. You got any gangsters want to be gang stalked? I pretty much doubt that. And guess what they will want done? They will want you dead or put away from society. I guarantee you that. They will have no problem with it. Hey, them crazy people. That's what a gangster think. Them crazy. You can't do crazy stuff and not be crazy. I hate to tell you this. I hate to awaken you. Well, I don't hate to awaken you. You can't do crazy activity and be sound-minded and go back to normal. No, it doesn't work like that. That's why we try our best not to do crazy stuff. If you do crazy stuff, you are crazy. I don't care what you say. I don't care how sound-minded you think you are. But by psychological definitions, you are mentally sick. Bottom line. So what you have here in this country, America, is a lot of mentally sick, knucklehead extremists. And they'll tell you they thugs and they gangsters. And are they crazy in the violent way, but they really mentally sick. They're not even crazy by gangsters and thugs definition. No, they are mentally sick. Okay? And that's not cool in any context to me. Anybody think being mentally sick is cool? I don't know anybody want to emulate a mentally sick person. If you think it's cool, you want to emulate it. Anybody really want to emulate a mentally sick person? I'm not picking at it. I'm not picking on it, mental sickness. But that's what it is. You can't do crazy mentally sick stuff like psychosis. You can't have psychosis activity talking about you a thug. You can't have psychosis activity talking about you a gangster. You can't have psychosis activity talking about you real out here. No, you psychosis out here. You bipolar out here. Okay? You schizophrenic, paranoid out here. You know. And that's another thing we need to differentiate. Mental sickness from gangsters and thugs. Some people just mentally sick, bro. Bottom line. And they ain't no thugs and gangsters. You just mentally sick. And that's all colors and creeds. There's a lot of mentally sick people out here talking about they thugs and gangsters. And they need medication. That's what they need. They're walking around with an attitude and angry because they need meds. They walking around violent towards people because they need meds. They're going around hurting people because they need medication. Not because you a gangster, not because you a thug. Go check the mental health of these people. And I guarantee you, if you study them long enough, you're going to probably see some mental sickness. I don't care what they got. I don't care what kind of money they got. Study their habits. Study it and you will see that's mental sickness. That ain't no thug with an attitude. That ain't no gangster with an attitude. That's bipolar. That's bipolar or psychosis or schizophrenic paranoid. See, I'm educated. See, a lot of y'all, you know things, but you don't study things. And your uneducated life gets you thinking all this stuff because you're just not educated. In other words, you can't tell the difference between someone that suffers from being diagnosed as psychosis, having psychosis, as opposed to someone that is just sound-minded but a criminal. All criminals are not crazy. All thugs are not crazy, and all gangsters are not crazy. And straight up, everybody ain't crazy, bro. Everybody is not crazy. And that's where reasoning comes in. And that's actually how they get out the life, because they're not crazy. Okay, so they see money. They see a way to get money. Dang, I don't got to be a gangster no more. I don't got to be a gangster no more. Oh, dang, I see a way to get money, real money, that the money I want, I don't got to be a thug no more. In other words, I don't got to do crimes anymore. And that separates mental sickness from people that want to be thugs and want to be gangsters. You see what somebody that maybe chose that life, if their mental health is really good, when they get opportunities, they're going to come out of it. Now, what maybe they in American culture, they might still have their same sauce and everything like that, or flavor. They might still have their same drip, but at the same time, they gonna maneuver out of things to make them a person that doesn't have to do crimes. I know that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference, man. And like I said, we need to start giving these people 20 years that's out here that suffer from mental sickness, or they something. We need to start giving them 20 years for doing the stuff they're doing. I'm telling you, I know it's a sensitive topic for all non-white people, because crimes have just been, time for crimes have just been given to you unjustly. So when you start talking about this, people say, well, who's going to manipulate this? That's the first thing most people are going to think. If we do start giving people 20 years, who's going to start manipulating that? Well, it's common sense that will counter any manipulation. Okay, if someone is technically the one that responsible for shooting kids and pushing people in front of trains, that's the technicality, right? Then that's all we need to go with. 20 years, buddy. I don't care what the situation was. And if you don't do that, it's not, I'm telling you, this is stuff out here is not going to change. It's not going to change, man, because human nature is not, all you need to know is human nature. That's all you need to know. You don't need to think about better tomorrows without sorrow. You don't need to think about that. All you need to think about is that human nature waxes worse every decade in America. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know nothing else. So what that tells you, human nature is only going to get worse and worse and worse while you're hoping on rainbows and pots of gold. While you're hoping on shooting stars and all the other silly superstitious stuff people do. I mean, I think having a false sense of hope is a sense of silly superstition. It's not connected to any reality in the sciences of reality. The sciences of reality is if these people, black, white, whatever they may be, don't have more time given to them for the crimes they do, people are not going to feel there's no real consequence. And this may be subconsciously. You may know, or you may be able to feel or know some way through other people. Well, basically through other people getting locked up. You know through that subconsciously that it's not a lot of time given for people being killed at your hands. See, in America, we know this. Anybody see some real time given out for average killing crimes? It has to be some extremists, and I think that's the problem. It has to always be some extremists for them to give somebody 20 years. You got to go shoot up a temple or something like that to get 20 years. You got to go do something like that. You got to go in a building and do some crazy killing. Basically, you have to do a mass shooting to get significant time when it comes to taking people's lives. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be defined by the actual all the dynamics and components and information of the killing. That is what's significant. If it's somebody pushing somebody in front of trains, they killed one person, but that person, for the reason why they did that and how it was, like it's a joke or something, you need to give them 20 years. Because if you give them 5 years, I promise you, they're going to sit back like a fat cat that done got over like a fat rat with 3 meals in a cot. That's all it is. You got to break it down to, you got to know your society. People are desperate there's some people that's here and have their freedom, and they don't even have 3 meals in a bed. And you send somebody to jail, he got 3 meals, he or she has 3 meals in a bed. That person just came up. They just came up. And you might not see it like that, but you don't know the desperation they already had. You're not considering that. So if you ain't had certain things, how is it bad? How is it worse? When you got this homeless man that pushed that Asian woman in front of the train, right? He pushed that Asian woman in front of the train. Now he homeless in the subway. Hey, he might have did it to get off the streets. Hey, you got to start thinking. You're not like that, but you got to think for other people. He might be that trifling to have done that just to get off the streets. Stranger things have happened. I'll tell you that. But the bottom line is, if he was in the subway, homeless, he didn't have 3